Welcome to another exciting episode of The Broadway Show. I'm Tamsen Fadal. This one's going to be fun. Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman is a winner of the 2026 Tony Award for Best Revival of a Play. It's now the most awarded play revival in Tony history. Let's send it out to Paul Wontorek.
It's nice to be here on the Winter Garden Theater. I know you can fit many cats and dancing queens on here, but it's nice to have the Lomans in such a beautiful, vast home. I think the Winter Garden has like 600 more seats than, let's say, the Morosco, where this play first premiered. What I love about having so many extra people there is when I saw the show, there was so much silence around me. People are just so like checked in from the minute you make your beautiful entrance.
Yeah, such a testament to the play. You know, I really think that I have not heard silence in the theater like that in a very, very, very long time.
And the response has just been extraordinary. And you know, when people come back and fall into your arms weeping, you think we must have done something right tonight. Look, this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I'm getting to do Death of a Salesman on Broadway in this spectacular production with people I love, and it's a gift. You know, you're trying to rise to the occasion. When you hear that kind of silence, or you hear people weeping in the dark, it's all been more than I could have hoped for.
Joe, I know that you made an offhand comment 30 years ago. You should play Willy Loman. I'm going to direct you as Willy Loman someday. Actually digging into it and doing it, and now coming here and getting to watch Nathan do it whenever you're in the house. What has surprised you about actually seeing Nathan in this role, in this man's shoes? You know,
certainly 30 years ago when I said this to him, you know, I wasn't imagining this. It was just an idea. You know, I think that the role is so great, but his performance, I can say this, was hard won. I mean, you really, really have to grapple with it in a way that probably it's unlike anything you've ever done in your entire career.
True.
Right? And it isn't like you kind of show up, we rehearse for an hour and a half, have a little break, and then kind of go back. It consumes you in a way. And I think Nathan, and certainly I know that I couldn't have done this 10 or 15 years ago. I didn't have it, I didn't have this in me. And so I think that the years of experience, all of your years in the theater, have led you to this moment. You have earned this moment at this point in your career. And that's what when I watch him, I'm so proud of my friend. I was presumptuous and I said I couldn't have done it 15 years ago, and I don't think you could have. But do you think you could have done it 15 years ago?
Well, not like that. No,
Yeah.
I don't think so. You know, things happen when they're supposed to happen, and this was when this was supposed to happen. I never would have, I would have hoped to have done it younger than 70, but you know, it turns out like this theater, it was the right time to do this. One of the things about this production, I think, is the speed of it, that it's relentless. It just doesn't let up. I mean, Tony Kushner said he found it terrifying. You know, it's terrifying. What a groundbreaking play this was in 1949, and it's still, you know, still grabbing people by the throat.
What's it like night after night doing a show like this? Is it still growing for you? Or are you still discovering?
Yeah, it does. I can hear Joe. I have many voices in my head. There's Ben, and then there's Joe and Arthur Miller. I spend more time as Willie than I do as Nathan. You can't hide in this play. You gotta spill your guts. You know, Joe used to say, I always had trouble with this opening scene. And he said, we have a long way to go. And as I tell my Elphabas, don't blow it all on the wizard and I. You gotta get to defying gravity. Which was, I think, a great piece of direction. And because his backstory is it's got so much going on in his head. It's hard to find that right balance and modulation, and it's evolved, and it's still a learning process with different audiences, but look, I get to look into Laurie Metcalf's eyes and you think everything will be all right, and Christopher Abbott and Ben Hollers, who are just extraordinary, and that's what carries you. That and the brilliant words of Arthur Miller, and the fact that it's still relevant, that it's still people, they see themselves in this and in this situation. It's ultimately, it is this, as Miller said, it's a love story between a father and son, and between them, and in a crazy way, between them and America. And it still holds up.
The revival of August Wilson's Joe Turner's Come and Gone returns to Broadway, starring Taraji P. Henson and Cedric the Entertainer. I had a chance to talk with the director of Joe Turner's Come and Gone, the legendary Debbie Allen. What is it like to be back directing on Broadway?
Oh my God, it's incredible for me. This particular production, this play, August Wilson, this cast, my creative team, it's like everything I really could ever dream come together has come together. It started with Denzel Washington, who has committed to filming all of August's work, and he had asked me to direct. And I was like, oh yeah, put me in, coach, I'm ready. And then he said, well, what about doing the play first? And I said, are you serious? Yes, let's do that. He said, then that we can just keep building from there. So this has been an extraordinary journey for me to do the deep dive on August, the history, and finding these wonderful characters and creating my own vision of what I wanted to see.
I love how you're surrounded by and bringing everybody in, and then the cast that you have.
The cast is incredible. Taraji P. Henson is so wonderful to work with every day. She came in with such enthusiasm. I mean, when she wasn't in the scene, she was the best audience for the scene. But she brought such nuance to her portrayal as Bertha, and warmth and energy. Cedric the Entertainer, people have been just so surprised to see him play this part, which is, the poetry of August Wilson, the language, but also so grounded and still brings that humor, but the heart every night. Every night, they all bring it.
What's it like to get a phone call from Denzel and saying like, hey, want you to do this, please? I feel like that's a lot of pressure.
Well, okay, let's turn it around. Denzel is like my brother.
Okay.
We came up at Woody King's New Federal Theater together.
Yes, that's true.
Felicia and I. He was doing Malcolm X, and I was doing...
So he should be nervous asking you.
Well, no, let me just say this. Before he directed Fences, I talked Denzel into directing Grey's Anatomy. I said, come on, baby, come on over here. This will be a warm-up for you. Because if you can do this in 9 days, you're going to kill it when you got like 24, 30 day, whatever. He said, all right, Debbie, I'm going to say yes, but don't tell anybody. So we kept it a secret, and he came. Boy, you should have been at that table read when he walked in that door. So I was kind of like his right hand as he was doing that, because television, we might shoot 6 pages. In movies, you might do 2 or 3. He's like, Debbie, what is this 6 page? I said, Denzel, this is the pace of this is how we work. But no, I love him, and I love his commitment. He's such an incredible actor. I was never expecting to be on the list, and I was really very, very excited to be on his list, and that he appreciated me as a director. He sees my craft.
Journey to a Spartak, sighting, mystic and exotic. Journey through our anecdotic review. We've got magic to do.
Broadway just celebrated Juneteenth with a huge concert in Times Square. The annual concert presented by the Broadway League's Black to Broadway initiative.
When I was 6 years old, not being able to go to a restaurant because it was all white, it was segregated, not being able to drink from a water fountain or use a bathroom, and being allowed to go to the play park only one day a year, Juneteenth. We waited all year for it to come back again so we could ride a Ferris wheel. Let's see what a go-kart was. Otherwise, it didn't exist in our neighborhood. But we had a richness of family right there on our block, like y'all got on your blocks right here today.
The concert featured performers from more than 15 shows, including Buena Vista Social Club, Cats, The Jellicle Ball, The Lost Boys, and Juliet, and more. Welcome back to the Broadway Show. I'm Tamsen Fadal. Let's get back to it. The Jazz Age, alive and well on Broadway, The Great Gatsby has it all. Bootleggers, flappers, tappers, incredible costumes, and much more. Here's Beth Stevens with another edition of Building Broadway.
When people think of the 1920s, I think that most people think of a flapper, and they think of a very specific silhouette.
Yes.
Were you adhering to that?
We have some of those. We have definitely the fringe skirts. Some of the things about the 20s that we think about the classic silhouette is the slim hips with the flat chest, and humans are not all built with those proportions. So just celebrating everyone's shape and saying, you know what, I know in the 20s we did the drop waist and that particular silhouette, but let's cheat. Let's give everyone a snatch waist, and let's make sure that everyone can do a big kick so that we can accommodate this amazing choreography as well. So we do all these cheats. I call it cheater 20s. Like we're doing 20s, but we're cheating in every way that I feel is necessary.
And you also designed the headpieces, which have a very specific Art Deco feel.
Yes. Headpieces I've learned from various shows in the past, they have to be lightweight and they have to be secure. They're gorgeous and completely unpractical for dancing. So
right.
Those are the things that I got to put everything that I've ever wanted in a big, crazy 1920s party on stage.
I think it's what makes Broadway so special, is that it's so handmade.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the people the makers that are involved, they're the next level. I might draw a scribble in terms of like how I want this headpiece made, but it's the hat maker then, the milliner, who will like come in with their skill and their artistry and say, oh, that scribble, what if it was this jewel with this golden framework? And then that is the level of artistry that takes it to the next level.
It's time to venture down to the underground. Hadestown is a winner of 8 Tony Awards and still a hell of a good time on Broadway. So let's send it out to Perry.
Hadestown's Tony Award-winning score is truly worth the hype. And the band not only plays it, but feels like another character in the show. I'm headed inside the Walter Kerr to go catch up with one of the astounding members of the Hadestown band. So we're here on the set, literally within an hour of curtain, with the guitarist here at Hadestown, Ilusha Tsinadze. Thank you so much for the time today.
My pleasure.
So I gotta say, we're inches away from where you sit throughout the entire show. What is it like being such a pivotal part? You're not in a pit, you're not isolated, you're here playing guitar on the stage.
I love being able to see the cast as I'm playing and look out across the stage to all the other musicians and see the audience. The set itself is a bar, more or less. So I feel like I'm playing in a bar band.
Are there any moments that you get caught up in the musical, in the magic of Orpheus, that it's almost hard to maintain the band, or is it all business as usual?
Of course, there's always elements of surprise, so I have to
live theater.
Yeah, exactly. You have to keep a lookout for things. There's always something that can come up, and that's very exciting, and I sort of welcome it at this point. Listening is the key for me to be able to play the show well. I have to be in tune with especially the drummer, bass player, piano player. That's the rhythm section that I'm part of. So I have to be totally locked into how they're feeling the rhythm. And at this point, I've done it over 500 times or something like that, but it's still like every single time you have to give it your all to make it sound good.
Thanks so much for sticking around. I'm Tamsen Fadal. The Jimmy Awards is a huge and amazing event that happens in New York City every year, featuring the absolute best of the best musical theater talents from high schools all across America. Here's Paul Wontorek with the winners of the 2026 Jimmy Awards.
Samia Posadas, Jake James, 2026 Jimmy Award winners. How are you guys doing? It just happened last night. Where are the emotions?
I mean, through the roof.
Absolutely over the moon, yeah.
That audience last night, I saw a lot of you react to the audience because it's really like thunderous at the Minskoff Theater. What was it like being on that stage?
Truly electric. Jake and I were just talking about it earlier, that literally we walked out for the opening number during the drum roll and like we couldn't hear the music. Like people just started singing, we were like, oh shoot, like it's time to start singing, because the energy and the audience's just the volume in there was absolutely insane, like unlike anything that I've ever experienced before. It was crazy.
What was it like backstage? The excitement level.
Yeah.
What was it like just sort of being in the wings and being a part of that night?
Yeah, it was very professional because we were working with the people who work in the Minskoff on a daily basis. So it was like really cool to be there with them and working alongside them. But yeah, it was very organized chaos, I think, backstage. I mean, you go into the dressing room and everyone's like running around doing things. So it was really cool to have that experience, yeah.
You both were honored for musicals that I love that are kind of not big blockbuster musicals, but you played Jacob in Water for Elephants,
yes.
and you played Alice in Bright Star.
Yes.
I love both of those shows.
Me too.
I was just thinking both of those roles, Alice and Jake, are very mature roles.
Yes.
They've
Yes.
lived lives.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's kind of like the amazing thing about high school musicals is getting to see young performers inhabit roles like that. Is that easy for you to click into? I mean, Alice has a crazy story that we find out in Bright Star.
Yeah, it was one of the most challenging things I've ever had to do or perform, especially just because her story is so rich and parts of it I can't necessarily relate to directly in my own life. Of course, certain aspects and certain emotions and certain scenarios. She was 17-ish when she got pregnant, and I think having the privilege of telling her story and the whole song, If You Knew My Story, everyone can relate to that. It's like, you have no idea what I've been through, and I think that's always really important.
I had a hard time relating to the grief aspect, and so I think this is the first time I attacked a role without really knowing how to go about relating to the character. So finding different ways to do that, I think, was a really good learning experience, and I can like take that with me to whatever role I play next.
Yeah. And finally, what was the greatest moment of your time in New York with the Jimmy Awards, other than winning? Let's just talk about the experience of the full, everything you got to experience while you were here.
There was a moment when we were on a big bus tour with our little Jimmy pod group, and I was sitting on the bus on the top level with Jake James.
Oh.
And it was nighttime, and like we were going over a bridge into Brooklyn, and we saw the New York City skyline, and it kind of grounded me, and I was like, wow, like this is crazy. And I keep saying it was one of those moments where when you're in it, you want to stay there forever because you feel like you're gonna miss it like when it's gone. And it truly felt surreal. I was like, wow, like I'm here, like city of dreams, like it was unreal.
I would say watching all of the other nominees perform their songs and like watching them shine, because everyone on that stage is like so right here with each other. Like it's crazy how talented everyone is. And so watching them and being able to be inspired by them and like take things from their performances was just, it was amazing. Like I got shivers watching people. It was amazing.
After all these years, Wicked is still as popular as ever on Broadway and also on tour. Here's an exclusive musical performance from the Broadway.com studio.
No good deed goes unpunished. No act of charity goes unresented. No good deed goes unpunished. That's my new creed. My road of good intentions led where such roads always lead.
That's all for now, but for tickets and more exclusive content, head over to Broadway.com. And until next time, I'm Tamsen Fadal, and this is The Broadway Show.